The International Baccalaureate program condenses all the manners in which we learn and process knowledge into 8 ways of knowing: language, sense perception, reason, intuition, memory, emotion, imagination, and faith. But what even is faith? The Oxford English Dictionary defines faith as belief in and acceptance of the doctrines of a religion, typically involving belief in a god or gods, and in the authenticity of divine revelation. Also, the capacity to spiritually apprehend divine truths or realities beyond the limits of perception or of logical proof, viewed as either a faculty of the human soul or as the result of a divine illumination. That's a lot of words to describe what seems like a fairly simple concept. Faith seems like a kind of trust in something beyond yourself, or confidence that everything will work out in your favor. Like the George Michael song, Gotta Have Faith. Well, kind of. Faith can be had in a god or otherworldly being or power, in other people, or even in oneself. However, with these definitions in mind, many problems are introduced, considering other ways of knowing and the various areas of knowledge. When used as a way of knowing in a vacuum, faith can prove beneficial as well as harmful. Faith can be used to have blind perseverance that a particular state of affairs will resolve itself in the way that one pleases, or even at all. Without considering the logical aspect, perhaps provided by reason as a way of knowing, it can be easier to disregard all sense and just motor on. Although this seems great, to ignore the facts and power through, this mode of thinking can be harmful to the self and to the people around you, such as we discussed in the pseudosciences earlier this year. When people are confronted with topics which contradict their own belief systems, perhaps provided by faith, they tend to reject the new information and become even more grounded in their preconceived notions, proving a phenomenon which is known as the backfire effect. Perhaps this effect, in conjunction with personal faith in one's own beliefs, is what causes such animosity in debates such as global warming or evolution. However, this begs the question, where did these beliefs come from? Faith as a way of knowing comes from the religious knowledge systems. This is kind of a circular relationship in the sense that the religious knowledge system informs a person's sense of faith, and the person's sense of faith informs their investment into religious knowledge systems. However, with strong faith comes strong investment in the religious knowledge systems. According to many doctrines, the God is omnipotent as well as omniscient. So, if it's in the Bible, God put it there, so it must be true, and such is the belief, such as creationism, which scientists such as Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson expend themselves arguing about, to no avail. Depending on faith as a way of knowing also introduces problems when differentiating between shared knowledge and personal knowledge, or really more when to share knowledge and when to keep knowledge to yourself. For example, in 1978, 918 people died after the pastor, Pastor Jones of a utopian, cult-led community in Guyana known as the People's Temple, convinced all of his disciples of sorts to commit mass suicide after the U.S. government came to inspect their activities. The community was largely communist, and so the pastor was able to easily convince his congregation that the U.S. government was a direct threat to their paradise, and so they all drank the Kool-Aid and died in the largest mass death prior to 9/11. This, of course, is an example of how personal knowledge in combination with the shared knowledge of a community can be harmful to those involved. Pastor Jones used his personal knowledge that the U.S. government was skeptical of their community to convince his people who held the shared knowledge that the government was dangerous that they needed to find a reasonable solution, which in their case meant dying. Additionally, faith can be considered a type of trust, especially in the era we live in with the introduction of immense quantities of technology and security watching our every move. We would venture to say that the older generations are more concerned about their information being spilled to the public or government or the potential FBI man hiding behind their computer cameras. A recent National Geographic article describes the surveillance situation in London, England, noting that the amount of CCTV security cameras has increased exponentially since their introduction in 1949. The author makes this observation after spending the day in a city with a CCTV operator and an observer. The London public has complete faith that the CCTV operators will catch the criminals plaguing their neighborhoods, all the while spending every waking hour of their day watching all the people who are not criminals as well. So, we've discussed faith as a way of knowing in 3 different contexts: the pros and cons of faith in a vacuum, the effects of faith being used as a personal knowledge, and faith as a belief in something else outside yourself, but not necessarily religion. All 3 of these rely on faith as the foundation of instinct, a sort of morality to refer to. Now it's up to you. How will you use faith?